Hey guys, this is EpicEpics here, coming at you guys with the weekly replay analysis. This week we're doing something different. Today will be a tricast with Kengan Gamer as well as XHi. You guys want to say hello?
What's up, YouTube?
What's up, guys? I'm crashing today, so hello.
So yeah, instead of a CM mode, this will be based on a pub game. AKA we are not a full rouster here. We have a random invoker playing for us, and on the other team I believe they're not a stack. It's gonna be maybe some friends plus a few randoms, and instead of captain's mode, picking and banning, it's gonna be all pick. So this has been requested somewhat by different viewers, and I will show you guys some of the basic fundamental ideas for you to play well in a pub game. So first of all, it's the lineup, right? There are no bans, it's only picks. There needs to be a lot of communication between you and the pub players. What you want to avoid is picking a full lineup of carries. So if you look at our team, Elmo, Epic Moment, Kai and I, we picked different heroes for different respective lanes. So if you're playing with a few friends, make sure one of them goes support and plays with you. That way you guys can communicate with each other in the lane, and you guys have set up a very strong lane. So here you see Gyro, Warlock, as well as the Rubik. And because we saw that our fifth player decided to go Invoker, we went ahead and gone with a Clockwork for the bottom lane. Now, if you look at their matchup, they have a pretty good long lane for the Timber Saw. However, instead of leveling his skill Timber Chain to lane very well to have that escape and grab that experience, he decided to opt for the reactive armor. Now that does make him tankier and more survivable in terms of getting harassed, but he's less able to stay in the lane and leash experience, whereas with the Timber Chain he's able to escape. So that's why if you look at the experience, the Rubik's level 2, the Warlock's almost level 2, and I'm level 2, and here he only just recently reached level 2. And there's a Furion pickup, which is always versatile because Furion can TP in and make just bolster any of their lanes. However, they have a very weak mid lane hero, which is the Bloodseeker, and he's not very impactful early game. He does have the Rupture for ganking, however, a simple teleport negates its effects. And although saving grace of their team, as you will see later, is the Medusa safe lane, a very strong hero with a lot of farm. So Ken, do you have any words of wisdom for the different viewers out there that are thinking of playing a stronger pub game?
Yeah, just one thing about just looking from your picks right now, I can see that you guys have a very strong lineup. I mean, all the heroes go somewhere, right? They fit into a lane. Whereas the Radiant, maybe that you see some rare picks like the Bloodseeker and the Medusa.
Yeah, and just very quickly, I want to mention quickly that Timber Saw, he overextended, chased very far, ran out of mana for Timber Chain. So yeah, if you're playing in a pub game and you're the safe lane, just make sure you're not dying, because it's very unlikely that your mid lane player or supports will come help you. Also, if they do decide to dive under the tower for you, it's very unlikely you'll get TP supports. So you want to play a lot safer than you would if you were playing with a full team of friends. That's just something else you could watch for. But yeah, please continue, Ken.
So yeah, as I was saying about the lineup, I mean they picked up a Bloodseeker, which is kind of a rare hero that you don't really see very often, and Medusa. I mean, at this point, Medusa and Gyro is just gonna be trading free farm because both of you guys are in a safe lane. But I mean, Medusa, after say 10 or 15 minutes, he's not gonna be nearly as impactful as say a Gyro is with the same amount of farm. So I mean, the only way, looking at their lineup, for them to win was to get it to a super late game. And yeah, I'm not sure exactly how this worked out, but that was pretty much their game plan.
Yeah, Medusa being one of the heroes that's rarely picked in competitive, if at all, is one of the hardest carries in the game. As you'll see later, she becomes very tank, but you need a lot of items on her to make her a viable carry, which is why a lot of pro teams won't be seen picking her up, as the current meta won't usually make it to the super late game very often with its aggressive play styles.
Yeah, so that's it for the picking in public games. Make sure you guys are communicating with your teammates. Make sure you don't pick up 4 or 5 carries. You know, that's a recipe for failure. Make sure that you guys have proper lanes, and if you're playing with 1 or 2 friends, make sure you guys can lane together in one particular lane, whether or not that's a tri-lane or a dual lane. You know, anyways, let's move on to the team fights. The biggest difference between a pub game and a team matchmaking is the amount of teamwork that is present during the games. So in a pub game, you know, most people don't know each other, and most people are having different mindsets in the game, tend to play on their own and do their own thing. So that's why a lot of the big, you know, the most impact you could have as in a pub game as a player is to basically, you know, create as much space, do as much as possible on your own without depending too much on your teammates. So here you see a lot of pressure is put on the bottom tower. Few enemy heroes are here, possibly more PRs would be TPing in. So as the gyro at the, you know, safe lane, I want to be putting as much pressure on the top lane as possible, simply because I will have a level advantage and farm advantage in terms of competing with the off lane. And here, as you see, I picked up the tower and the kill. Unfortunately, Bloodseeker with good rotation walked behind me and got me. But it pretty much sums up what I have to say, is that, you know, a lot of times if you are caught between making a choice of, you know, joining on a team fight, spending money on a teleport to get into position and defend, maybe it's better if you put in a lot of pressure on your own and, you know, go offensive instead of play a more defensive style, because in a pub game that may pay off better in a lot of the cases. Ken, what do you think?
Well, yeah, it depends on your position as well. I mean, if you're playing as the carry, you might as well just take that time and sometimes just push for a tower, get the free farm, or even pick up a kill, like you did in this case. But, you know, whereas, you know, Kai is playing Rubik in this case, and it makes more sense for him to, excuse me, to rotate bottom and try to defend the tower and maybe help out his
and here you guys see, you know, this is a gank that was dependent on the Fury and TP in earlier and getting the sprout off. However, because it's a pub game, he did sprout in, but it was a bit delayed. And afterwards, you'll see something else too. I have my flask cannon on, and if he moved these trends away, I would not have been able to get the scatter shot off and kill this Timber Saw. However, because once again it's a pub game, they lack the communication. The Timber Saw could not readily tell the Furion when to come in for the gank, when to micro his different trends, and that ended up being a triple kill going our way. Kai, you know, what do you think?
What time are we right now? I freaking crashed.
Well, it's alright. Like, basically, you know, Kai probably agrees with what we're saying. Basically, we're saying that, you know, in a pub game, like, a lot of the times your play will be more dependent, like it will be more dependent on single play, like individual play skill level, and less in terms of, you know, teamwork, because it's more of a relaxed environment. And a lot of times, you know, you see, for example, Michael here going in for a long range hook, trying to kill the Medusa, when it obviously isn't a good choice. Like, people sometimes screw around, and at the same time, if your teammates are screwing around, you want to optimize and do as much as possible. Here, the Bloodseeker getting baited, getting killed. Anyways, Kai, are you caught up, or should we just go to another team fight?
Maybe I should take a turn.
Okay, why don't you say something?
So yeah, I mean, like, in a pub game, there's definitely like a lack of trust. So number one pro tip is don't get muted. But number two is, like, you know, sometimes when you go to those team fights, you're basically losing your own free farm, right? If you have like a free lane to farm, you choose to TP and attend one of those team fights, you're basically going for like a coin toss sometimes with pub teammates, because sometimes, you know what, all it takes is one screw up for you guys to get team wiped. And
It's
so,
true.
you know, sometimes the better alternative is just to free farm and don't trust your teammates.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. Especially if you're the carry. But sometimes though, through my experience, if you guys are leaving very badly, it's better to join the team fights and help turn that around, because you're not gonna be able to outfarm a carry who's also farming heroes. Like I've had the personal experience of dealing with a carry that's had less CS than I, but say 10 hero kills, and he's like way ahead of me in terms of GPM, and we end up getting smashed. But in these kind of games, as you see, the Dusa inches out ahead, I inch out ahead of the Dusa. You want to be able to get your farm whenever possible. So here you see me going on bottom, going for that harass a little bit. Or actually, I don't remember if I end up killing this guy. Maybe I do. Turn on the barrage. Let's see if I... Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I end up actually Shadow Blade and getting the last hit on this guy. But anyways, you want to go for the solo pickoffs. You want to go for the farm, put the pressure on the T1 towers, maybe even pick up a tower. And at the same time, I killed Timbersaw. 3 people died mid, but I'm keeping up with the net worth of the Dusa, and that's all it matters in the early parts of the game. You guys will see a lot of reoccurring themes in this replay analysis. Here I want to talk about teamwork for the one last time. Basically, a lot of times going for the solo kills, you're gonna lack the team communication to come in. Clockwork, luckily being my old teammate, is able to come in, pick off that kill at the very end, and come in for the save to let me barely escape. However, as the Invoker, he misses Sunstrike on the Timbersaw, and afterwards he comes walking in. After I got the Invis rune, I'm deciding to stay or fight because he's putting himself in a very precarious situation. Xkai here coming in with the Rubik's Rupture and the Lift, luckily puts him into a good spot. And again, he's not sure if the Medusa is gonna come in or walk out. He puts up Ice Wall. It doesn't even touch the Medusa. But anyways, a lot of times when you're playing the pub games, like what Ken was saying, maybe it would have been better for me to just opt to save for the free farm, and he TPs himself in a very precarious situation, almost gets picked off once again. So this will be the last time that I'll go over these things. The game gets pretty exciting as late game approaches, and more emphasis is put on the 2 carries duking it out, the Gyrocopter and the Medusa. We'll be going into some of the late team fights starting now. Okay, it's red. So one thing to watch for in the team fights in a pub game is your team's positioning. In this case, watching that I have just TP'd back, it's probably not a good time to instigate a fight because I am not there. Instead, Michael, though, because we're not really playing seriously, decides to hook in for the fight. This means that they're taking a 3-on-5 fight at this case because Kai is back in the base, I am here. So they drop all 3 ultimates, and things actually look pretty dire for them. The Furion picks off the Invoker, Clockwork has nothing. Luckily though, with the Shadow Blade movement speed and the Tranquil Boots, I'm able to make it into the fight and pick off all of these players. Michael, being the boss he is, saves himself with some clutch cogs and gets out. So a lot of times in the team fights, before you take the fight, you want to make sure that even if you guys lack communication in terms of chain stunning, in terms of AoE disabling, positioning, you still want to make sure that your teammates are at least in position on the map to come in and join the fights. And here you see, luckily we were able to join the fight, but if the fight had taken place here in the middle of the map a little bit farther, then most of our supports would have got picked off before I come in the fight, and even with the BKB I would have probably gotten picked off. What do you guys think? From experience, is there anything you want to share in terms of what I just talked about?
Well, given this current fight, as I think our Warlock just dropped the ult and then dropped his upheaval, and you see people trying to dance around it, not realizing it's a level 1 upheaval, so it doesn't really even slow all too much. But it's just that big visual effect is quite intimidating, as you see. Their Timbersaw trying to dance around it when he could have probably went straight in and just popped the Invoker. But that being said, our Warlock could have mech'd at any time too to save him.
Yeah, but Alan playing from China, 400 ping, probably had a screen that just froze on him when he dropped the rock. So, you know, yeah. But anyways, I think, you know, as long as you guys watch what you pick, or watch what goes on the map, you guys will survive the early to mid game. And once late game comes, it will be just a battle between the carries. And, you know, if you're playing the carry, then great, the ball's in your court. If not, make sure you guys place a lot of emphasis on the carry. That means maybe smoking behind the carry, maybe staying near him, making sure that he's never caught out of position. As long as the team is with him, even if he's in a very precarious position, he is still in position to play a good and safe game. I want to take it back a little bit from what I was talking about before. When it comes to really late game, your supports that have AoE control is just as important as the carry. And here, as you guys will see, with epic moment, Alan getting picked off with his golem, you know, taken out of the map, the Nature's Prophet buys back immediately and decides to put immense amount of pressure. So now, you know, they don't know that he actually has his buyback ready, but had he not have his buyback ready, even with a carry with 4k ahead of the enemy carry, you know, I myself having the Monkey King Bar and the Satanic, we will be unable to defend. And so he immediately buys back. It turns to 4 on 5. And with the Nature's Prophet always having a split push, you know, we're put in a position where we're taking a 4 on 4 fight and lacking a person to actually defend. However, you know, having the gyro, having an immense amount of farm, he's able to clear one lane, come back to the other, clear another. And if I speed up a little bit, I realize, I believe, that the Nature's Prophet do not have a Shadow Blade. So he's a very vulnerable target in terms of a pickoff. So I decided to opt to Shadow Blade in and go next to him and start to attack him with the Monkey King Bar. Even with the BKB and the teleport, you know, as long as I have the Monkey King Bar, the amount of damage and the 35% mini bash chance puts me in a very good position to pick him off. And with him picked off, we're able to take this 4 on 5 fight very candidly and win it. As you guys see, with Inferno dropped, he, I believe, TP's out, but, you know, Timbersaw gets picked off, Medusa here gets chased down. So what the theme of what we're trying to talk about here is basically making sure that the main components in your team fight, the carry as well the AoE control, stays alive, and make sure that you guys are in position to join in on the team fights so you guys could be effective. Because these graphs, charts, their numbers, if you're not in the fight, if you're not there, like the Nature's Prophet is not there, 19k gold. So even though the Radiant is at advantage of 6k gold advantage, you have to minus 19k gold off of their net worth, and that's why we won that fight so easily. What do you guys think in terms of what happened and our position in the game right now?
I think generally going up against a very farm Furion, at the end of the day, he's still a Furion. It's still a relatively fragile hero, and given how much burst and lockdown our lineup can provide, if we can, like, if he's caught in a bad position, we can definitely take him out, and without him, there goes maybe like 40% of their entire DPS.
Yeah, not just DPS, in terms of their split push, their control in terms of the Sprout, and their Wrath of Nature is no joke in terms of dealing damage to supports such as the Rubik, yourself in this game. And if he's able to TP behind you with a BKB, he would Sprout you and easily take you down even with the Force Staff. He would hit, Wrath of Nature, and you pretty much would get bursted down, right? So, you know, he is definitely a key player on top of the Medusa, even though, you know, you may not feel like he has that much of a presence in terms of AoE, where Medusa have the split shot. His single target focus and his global presence actually makes him very crucial in the late game. Ken, what do you think?
Well, that was a good pick off by you on Nature's Prophet, because, I mean, when they're doing a split push, like one of the worst things you could do is basically just sit in a base and try to defend, right? Because no matter what, they're gonna have constant pressure two ways on your top and bottom tower. So I think what you did is just basically say fuck it to bottom and just go top and kill Nature's Prophet. And with Nature's Prophet out of the way, you guys realize that now it becomes a 5-on-4, and you guys could basically have the clock hook in, and yeah, that there goes the team fight, and you guys won that team fight because of that.
Yeah, I agree. I think maybe in terms of the other team, they should have jumped on the opportunity to push high ground, and I believe they did so, and they took out the T3. In terms of your teammates, though, they have to be safe and recognize these things. In a pub game, it may be hard for you guys to execute this as well as you can if you were playing in a stack of 5. But if you guys talked about it ahead of time, if you used a voice chat where you typed out what you think you guys should do ahead of time, it's very doable to execute what we did there. Basically, it was that for 4 of them to stay here and defend while I went top and went head to head with the Furion. Sometimes in pub games you will see people run around like a pack of sheep. There will be 4 players standing here, there will be 1 player standing here, and then these 4 players would start to scatter. They'll walk mid, walk top, decide not sure what they're gonna do, then one of them's gonna initiate. Furion's gonna TP behind them, or Timbersaw's gonna chain in and throw his chakram, and things become chaotic. But if you guys stand in a nice position behind the racks, 4 players, it's very hard for them to walk up. If they do force up, you drop the rock, drop the upheaval to slow everybody. You cog, push people back, Rubik lift, drop it. Invoker has a cyclone, he has ice wall, he has a million skills for crowd control. It buys you so much time that it's easily recoverable for the gyro to walk back into the bot lane, to throw down his call down, his barrage, and because they have charged up so far up the lane, it becomes a very favorable fight nonetheless. And if you guys are going on the offensive, make sure you commit. Make sure you commit fully once your split pusher is getting being gold on, right? Because if you guys commit fully, the Furion, he could sprout the gyro just to delay his journey back. He could stay. If he had he gone for it or finished the hex, he could hex the gyro, force him to BKB, so he wouldn't have the full duration in the team fight. And as I'm talking, this is actually a textbook example of what I'm talking about. You have the 2 supports standing behind the carry, but even though they have the idea down correctly, they're not close enough to actually make an impact. And 2 of them, compared to 5 of us, would be a very bad fight for them to take. So if you were gonna sit behind your carry, especially with a Furion where he could TP in at any moment, you want to at least have your full lineup. You want to make sure that your Timbersaw is at least behind him as well. You can't just have the Bane and the Bloodseeker because they do very little in terms of counter initiation. Where if the Timbersaw rushes in, throws the Chakram, does his whirling death, it slows the enemy. It has that huge visual spin effect, and Furion TPing behind, you guys can actually take the fight. Whereas that was just pretty much for show, and it didn't have the desired effect. Sometimes there are peculiar decisions you have to make when playing in pub games that you may not opt for. Here you see me going for a Divine Rapier, simply because even though we were able to go for all the pickoffs, our buildings are getting split push off. Furion just suicide dived our racks. It's exposed. Middle tower is already getting pressured on a lot. So even though I have a lot of DPS, it was not enough for us to go aggressive. And here I offered a Divine Rapier, and being extremely 6-slotted, I offered a Rapier and just go for a GG push. And you guys will see that the Medusa late game is no joke. He is extremely tanky, and being 10k less net worth than I am, he's still able to put up a great fight. Here you see, I'm ruptured. I go ahead, drop my BKB, but look at that immense amount of damage that I'm taking, even with the BKB and the Syntanic. However, if without the Rapier, we probably would not have picked off the Bane, and all that we accomplished here is take out the 2 barracks. The Medusa able to temp tank the entire flash cannon shots with the rapier damage. So that kind of shows you how strong it is, and that kind of shows you that if I did not opt for the rapier, it would have been very possible that I would have just been 6 slotted, right? And once that I'm 6 slotted, the only way for Medusa to go is up, and eventually he'll catch up in farm. And once it's a 6 slotted Medusa versus a 6 slotted Gyro, it's more likely that the Medusa will win out simply because of her superior tanking ability and the split shots. You know, even though it's not capped at targets, where Gyro has unlimited targets, he hits 5 targets and he has a damage reduction, but it's almost unlimited, right? It's a limited number of shots, and in a prolonged fight, the tanking and the limited AoE DPS will eventually win out. So sometimes in a public game, you need to make sure that you guys go for the all or nothing. What do you think, Ken? Do you think the rapier here is a good choice? Do you think we could have, done more without it, with it? What are some of your thoughts?
I feel like Gyrocopter is one of the only heroes in the game that you would want to get a rapier with. Same with Medusa, because I feel like they have such a big impact in team fights with their split shots and of course flag cannon from the Gyrocopter. So it actually makes getting a Divine Rapier very viable, because you're able to just like burst down their supports like right away with maybe 2 or 3 hits. So
That's true.
yeah, I mean, I
That's
think
true.
it's a good choice.
Yeah, and as you see, as long as they're near this area, they'll be getting hit by the flash cannon, and that means they have to opt from staying away, and it's very easy to take down the enemy towers. But without the rapier, without that extra damage output, they would not be as afraid of the barrage, and they would simply just take you on. The Bane can come in and grip you, etc., etc. Whereas if the Gyro, in this case having the Divine Rapier, the Bane cannot get in position as long as you have the flash cannon turned on, because he cannot take the full range of rapier hits where he would die. Flash cannon, I believe, is 6 hits and doing what is this right now? This is around 600 damage per hit. That is 6 times 6. That's almost double the health pool of the Bane Elemental. So even with the armor reduction, the effective health is still not enough to take the full barrage. Well, Kai, what do you think of our late game and our last few engagements?
Yeah, I feel like in this like current stage of the game, like it's almost like too safe for like Gyro. Like you see a lot of pro games end up going with like a rapier Gyro, because like if you have like a decent team behind you, like to keep you safe, there's like almost nothing the other team can do to stop it.
Yeah, and here you want to see, sorry, just real quickly, even though I'm pushing the lane by myself, I want to wait a little bit, make sure that our Clockwork is in position, make sure that Rupik's in position with the Force Staff, even with the Aegis of Immortality, to make sure that they will be able to get in position and, save me and counter-initiate in case they go on me. And here you see the Timbersaw charging in, then realizing, oh shoot, Invoker, Rubik, they're all here, gets picked off right away, and we're easily able to take tier 2. And here, as you guys will see, is the last engagement. Medusa having the buyback, Furion having the buyback, Bloodseeker having the buyback, Bane, well, without the buyback. But here, you guys will see what happened. And I think in terms of pub games, a lot of times when it goes really late, sometimes you have to opt for going aggressive instead of continue to farm. You have to know when to take the advantage to the next level. I dropped my BKB for the Aegis and popped my Satanic. Bloodseeker gets killed for the first time, buys back, comes back. Medusa gets picked off to the barrage, and then immediately buys back. But at the same time, Gyro's still having the Aegis of Immortality, completely immune to what they're doing. We managed to take the Mega Creeps and win the game. I believe if the game did go on a bit longer, it might have been a lot harder for us to take the game, or it might have been completely impossible for us to take the game. What do you think?
Well, with them, they definitely did have the stronger late game lineup. in their I guess their tricore essentially with the Bloodseeker, with the Medusa, and ooh, shit. Was there a third hero?
Nature's Prophet.
Yeah, Nature's Prophet. Sorry, yeah. Because like you see, our pretty much our lineup revolved entirely around our gyrocopter and to a lesser extent our invoker, but his spells kind of cap off towards the end, whereas their physical carries they scale a bit better, but we have more of a control in our warlock and clock and Rubik to kind of keep our gyro safe, and as long as he's safe, the enemy is taking a lot of damage with the flat cannon.
Yeah, and if you look at the net worth, it really shows. The gyro's at 41k, and the Furion Medusa at 20k, and the Bloodseeker at 14k. Now, if the game did go longer, the gyro already capped out, obviously, right? There is 11k gold left in the bank at the end of the game. I could have picked up the new BKB, but this is as strong as I'm gonna get. And whereas the Medusa, the Furion, and the Bloodseeker can only go up. So the team fights will only get harder and harder and harder. And if we did not put the appropriate amount of pressure and mega creep them in 5 minutes after I got the Divine Rapier, then we would have essentially lost. I feel like if I did opt for a critical, it might not have been enough to, maybe we could have got the Naked Rax mid, but it might have not been enough for us to take all 3 lanes so quickly. And with that being said, you know, the Medusa, the Furion first of all will always find farm, and late game with the Midas, with his ultimate leveled up, he's easily able to catch up on farm. And the Medusa being able to defend with split shot will get majority of the creep waves going to you. And the Bloodseeker late game, you know, all he needs is to tank up, because as long as he survives, then he will heal off of bloodbath, and he will continue to be effective. So I felt like the game would have gotten harder and harder and harder. So for your viewers in pub games, you have to make sure you play appropriately in terms of how much aggression you have to put on, when to put it on. I remember playing a game of Juggernaut where I was playing against the Obsidian statue, and we raxed them 5 racks in 30 minutes, and I was beyond godlike. But the stupid OD, that hero, he got enough intelligence to almost one-shot me. And when team fights came near the end, you know, even though I had more farm than him, he had less farm, he was more effective, because he came in, he dropped his sanity eclipse, half of our team is dead, I'm almost dead, and they managed to turn the game around and win at 40 minutes. So if I bought a BKB earlier, if I, you know, put in more pressure, I would have won the game. And I'm sure a lot of you viewers may have had the similar experience. So to recap what we said in this replay analysis, something different from what we do usually, you go for the, you go for a picking, you go for the picks, and you try to pick a lineup that's viable in the laning phase, because there will be less TP supports, there will be less roaming ganks, there will be less stuff that are more dependent on other players. So you want to make sure that you're able to win your lanes. You want to be able to outlane your opponent. So you don't want to put, anti-mage against a dual lane, or you don't want to put, a melee hero against a range hero if you could avoid it. And then the second wall is try to have individual plays. Try to, be less dependent on what your teammate has to do. If you do gank, make sure you're not too dependent on what your teammate does. Make sure you can secure that kill by yourself. If not, go for another player. Go for that. Make sure if you're playing with friends that you guys are in a position where you guys can communicate with each other, and you optimize that. So if you're playing with a friend, you don't want the friend to be playing off lane, you playing the short lane, because even with the mid lane, you guys can gank for each other, you guys can move around, warn each other, but and that puts you guys in a very favorable position. And when late game comes, it'll be more dependent on a carry and the AoE control heroes. Make sure they don't die. Make sure if you're supports, stay with them. If you're not, if you're the carry or the whatever, you make sure that you're close to the supports so they can counter initiate for you. So in a pro game, the supports will move with you, but in a captain mode, I mean with friends. But in a pub game, that may require to miss out on some farm. That may require you to wait a little bit. But make sure you do that. Make sure you communicate that with your teammates, and you don't get a caught up position. We'll be doing another one of these replay analysis, pub replay analysis coming up very soon. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Kengan Gamer is one of my featured channels on my YouTube channel. Make sure you guys check him out. He has some great content, high production value. He does some interesting guides, I mean, to say the least. He has a Luna jungle guide. I mean, you guys probably never seen that before, right? Check it out. It's pretty interesting. Ken says it's great. I don't agree with him, but
dude, it's awesome.
You know,
it's awesome.
Check it out. It's interesting. Give him a shout out. He's a really cool guy. He spends a lot of time on this, you know, YouTube, Dota 2 stuff. Make sure you guys give him a shout. Thanks for watching, guys. See you guys next week.